Conference, thank you. Conference, thank you. It's an honour to be with you here in Liverpool today, and it's fantastic to be introduced by our new Secretary of State for Scotland, Douglas Alexander. Douglas, as Secretary of State and as co-chair of our Scottish election campaign, alongside the brilliant Jackie Bailey, I know, big cheer for Jackie. I know you will bring your passion, intellect and energy to help deliver another historic election victory in Scotland next year. And Douglas, you are carrying on the important work done by our dear friend Ian Murray. The Conference, Douglas and Ian are now just 2 out of 9 Scottish Labour MPs serving our great country as ministers, proving that Scotland is at the heart of our Labour government and that Scotland is the beating heart of Labour's future. And since getting rid of the Tories last summer, we have begun the work of clearing up their mess and changing our country for the better. But let's be honest, it's not been easy, and it was never going to be. That's why we need to be more confident in telling our Labour story. We can't expect the right-wing press to do our job for us. We can't afford to be shy about the successes we have had or about the positive changes we are making. If we aren't going to talk about our successes, then no one else will. If we aren't going to tell our positive story, then people aren't going to hear it. So let's not be shy about our Labour story and what we have achieved in the past 15 months. Our New Deal for working people, the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, raising wages for over 3 million British workers, ending the scandal of fire and rehire, scrapping exploitative zero-hour contracts and improving rights for millions of workers. That's the difference we are making to so many lives. So let's not be shy about that. We have delivered economic stability after years of Tory chaos. And you know what that means? That means that the average mortgage in our country is now £1,500 lower since Labour came to power. And the average wage in our country is now £1,800 higher since Labour came to power. So a full-time working couple with a mortgage could now be £5,000 better off. And that's thanks to this Labour government. So let's not be shy about that. We have returned the United Kingdom to the top table in the world. We've led the way in calling for peace and security across the globe. We've stood by Ukraine in their struggle against Russian aggression. We have stood with our NATO allies in the defence of our European borders. We have called for a lasting peace and an end to the illegal occupation and the release of hostages in Israel and Palestine. And we have, at the UN General Assembly, finally recognised the state of Palestine, righting a historic wrong and ending almost a century-long injustice. So let's not be shy about that. Because, Conference, this is a Labour government promoting peace, securing trade deals and standing up for Britain on the world stage, meaning more investment, more jobs and more exports and better outcomes for Scottish workers and Scottish businesses. Trade deals with the EU, India and the US that will increase exports by billions of pounds, attract billions in investment and create tens of thousands of new, well-paid jobs. So let's not be shy about that. The Conference, I want to share a personal story. My first ever political campaign, when I was just 16 years old, was to try and save shipbuilding on the Clyde. But what has this Labour government delivered in just 15 months? 15 years of work for Clyde shipbuilders, securing thousands of jobs, a £10 billion deal that is the largest export deal in the history of shipbuilding in the UK, securing the future of shipbuilding in my home city of Glasgow for years to come. So let's not be shy about that. And after a decade and a half of Tory misrule, this UK Labour government has ended austerity once and for all. This is the difference that a Labour government is making. So let's not be shy about that. And none of this would have been possible if we hadn't got rid of the rotten Tories last year. A UK Labour government improving lives across the country. The conference, the truth is that we need to go further and shout louder about what we have done. Because the fact is, we are allowing our opponents to set the political weather too often. We are changing lives for the better, but we have to be more confident in telling our story. Confident in how we're improving lives for the better. Confident in how our Labour values reflect those of our great country. And confident about the UK's future. But the work of change is not being felt equally across the UK. Because in Scotland, we are being held back by a tired and out-of-touch SNP government. Let's look at the contrast. In England, under Labour, NHS waiting lists are falling. In Scotland, under the SNP, 1 in 6 Scots are on an NHS waiting list. Here, patients are being seen quicker, but not in Scotland. Do you know there are more people waiting over 2 years on an NHS waiting list in Glasgow alone than the whole of England combined? Here, schools are now recovering after a decade and a half of Tory misrule, while under the SNP, our schools are falling down the international league tables. Here, the Labour government is getting spades in the ground to build new homes, while in Scotland, the SNP are failing to deal with a national housing emergency. A UK Labour government is returning neighbourhood policing to local communities. But in Scotland, under the SNP, police numbers are cut and police stations are closing. So if you want to feel change in Scotland, change in the parts of government that touch you and your family every day, then we need to beat the SNP, replace the First Minister and have a new occupant in Butte House. And in just 7 months, with your support, Scottish Labour will deliver just that. Because Scotland can't afford another decade of SNP rule, opportunities squandered, potential wasted. A UK Labour government delivered record funding to Scotland that the SNP could have spent improving our NHS and our schools. Since the election, they have had an extra £5.2 billion to spend. £5.2 billion. But what have we got to show for it in Scotland? Where has the money gone? So what have they done with Labour's record budget settlement? 880,000 Scots on an NHS waiting list. 100,000 patients waiting for over a year for treatment. And record numbers are having to shell out and pay privately to get the care they need. Where has the money gone? Despite record funding, the reality is when Scots need our NHS, too often it's not there and they are let down. Because the brutal truth is that Scotland's NHS won't survive a third decade of John Swinney and this knackered and out-of-touch SNP government. Record funding from Labour for our NHS in Scotland, but where has the money gone? This is just characteristic of an SNP government that cannot be trusted with your money. Scots working hard and paying their taxes all their lives, but when they look at Scotland's public services, what do they see? Cuts to police numbers, rising violent crime, falling education standards, 10,000 homeless children, and Scots being forced to emigrate to get jobs as doctors, nurses and teachers. Scots paying more and more and getting less and less from the SNP. So we are rightly demanding to know, where has the money gone? We need to stop the SNP embezzling opportunities from Scots with their incompetence. And that's why there's a stark choice before Scotland in just 7 months. More failure and decline with the SNP, or a new direction with Scottish Labour. The choice is the past with John Swinney or the future. That is the simple and straight choice before the people of Scotland. And the need for change to unlock Scotland's potential could not be clearer. Scotland is a nation full of ambition, potential and opportunity. We have world-leading businesses, unique natural resources and global brands that command respect across the world. We are world leaders in renewable technology, home to cutting-edge scientific and tech institutions and several renowned research-intensive universities. Scotland has so much to offer, but the truth is we are being held back by an SNP government that looks for excuses, not solutions. But their time is running out. They are now the past, we are the future, and we have only 7 months to make that future a reality. And conference, we have defied the odds and proven the pollsters wrong before, and we will do it again. They said we couldn't win in Scotland last year. We did. They said we couldn't win in the Hamilton by-election. We did. And we are going to do the same again next year. And let me say something about that by-election in Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse, because it's a good preview of the election. The gutter politics and bile of reform and the cheap and cynical politics of the SNP, while we as Scottish Labour were relentlessly focused on the issues that matter. In Hamilton, reform attempted to set community against community and even cast doubt on my identity. The truth is, Farage probably didn't even know where Hamilton was. He probably thought it was a show in the West End of London. So I say to Nigel, Scotland is my home. I am working day and night to change my country for the better. My story is Scotland's story, whereas you are a pathetic, poisonous little man that doesn't care about Scotland, doesn't understand Scotland, and Scotland will utterly reject you. Thank you. And friends, all reform can do is create noise. All they're interested in is creating noise. And all they risk doing is keeping the failing SNP in power. And the SNP and John Swinney, what did they shamefully do in that by-election? They talked up reform and attempted to push people towards them, because they would rather do that than talk about their own record. Well, I am glad that the good people of Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse sent them both packing and led the way, and I'm confident that Scotland will do the same next year. And that success in Hamilton was down to so many of you in this room, the Labour family coming together to once again deliver change. So, conference, it's now on us to do that once again, to prove that the Scottish Labour Party are the only party that can deliver the new direction Scotland needs. It's on us to show that we are ambitious for Scotland and ambitious about our future. Because the truth is that Scotland's potential is limitless. Our ambition of our people is unlimited, but it's being held back. The entrepreneur wanting to expand their business being held back by punishing business rates. The worker struggling to earn because they're stuck on an NHS waiting list. And the family saving to buy a home but who've been simply priced out of the market. That's whose side we are on. And we are ready to deliver the new direction they need. So we will take on the noisy minority and deliver for the hard-working majority. We will fix our NHS, clear the backlogs, return to the family doctor and end the ATM rush for a GP. We will improve our schools and close the opportunity gap. We will support our high streets and grow our economy. And we will bring back community policing and deliver safer streets. And we will end the waste and respect your money. Scottish Labour, ambitious for Scotland, ambitious for the future, new ideas, new thinking, new leadership for Scotland. That's what we'll deliver together. Thank you. Thank you.